Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode, I'm joined by co-hosts Phil Lindsey and Ray Dean. Once again, we are completionists here on the 6M podcast. You know what that means for you kids out there? It means we started something, then we finished something, okay? Today, we are rounding out the Creed trilogy. That's right, all three movies. Hopefully more to come down the road. We'll get into that a little bit here today. But yes, we have plenty of times we've covered a trilogy, a quartet of movies, sometimes a first and a part two. Other times we choose to ignore sequels because right? But we are completionists, at least in this regard, for this trilogy. And man, is it a good trilogy. And buddy, if you have followed the Creed films, and especially if you listen to our reviews of Creed 1 and 2, then you know about the growth that the characters have experienced, how the character of Adonis Creed has changed from the first film to part 3. And as we said, hopefully beyond this. So you're aware, you've been along for the ride. And if you've been along for the ride on the 6M, we thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and hearing our takes. And hopefully you've seen and heard some of your opinions reflected back at you. And maybe we've thrown a few at you that you didn't consider to begin with. But let me tell you, going into this, folks, I thoroughly enjoyed part 3. I got thoughts on whether or not this is the best of the trilogy. We'll get into that here today and a whole lot more. But first, let's do this. Creed 3 is a 2023 sports drama that marks Michael B. Jordan's first time behind the camera as director, while also reprising his role as Adonis Creed. The film continues the Creed storyline following 2018's Creed 2 and stands as the third entry in the series and the 9th film overall in the Rocky franchise. Holy Lord, 9 movies. The screenplay was penned by Keenan Coogler and Zach Balin, based on a story developed with Ryan Coogler. This chapter finds Adonis enjoying retirement until a face from his past resurfaces, Damian Anderson, a once promising fighter and childhood friend, played by Jonathan Majors. There's also a lot of great actors in this cast, some of whom you'll remember from the other 2 films, one of which who's notably absent. We'll get into that here today too. But it's all here, kids. This film, runtime of 116 minutes, and as we say, released in 2023. The budget for Creed 3 was $75 million and earned over $276 million at the worldwide box office. And that is your lowdown for Creed 3. Phil, let's start with you here today. What do you think about Creed 3? Is this the strongest film of the trilogy for you?
I go back and forth on whether it's this one or the first one that's the strongest one. I really like this movie. I kind of think it's the best movie. Uh, I I think what didn't work about the second one, for lack of better words, because the second one is not a bad movie. I think the reason the first one and the third one are better though is because they're so much of their own thing. The second one feels like too much of an attempt to be a Rocky movie.
Mm.
And I feel like the first movie, it had all of Coogler's style and narrative choices to it. And this one had all of Michael B. Jordan's style and visual choices. And I think that that's why those 2 movies are better.
Interesting. I like that. Mix it up a little bit here today. I mean, Phil, let me ask you this, and I hate to hit this so early, but it's a question I was going to pose to both you and Ray, but we might as well go ahead and get to it. Did you miss Stallone in this movie? Do you think maybe just a brief 5-minute appearance? I mean, what's your take on that? Did this movie need him at all?
No, I think the second one was such a good send off for Stallone and the Rocky character that this movie didn't need him. There was only one scene where I was like, well, it didn't make any sense for him to not be here.
Good call. Really good call. I know the scene you're talking about too. So, Ray, let's throw it to you here. Is this your favorite of the trilogy? And if so, or if not, why?
In my opinion, this was the best. The first one is very close. It's like, 9.9 versus a 10. It's
Mm.
very, very close. The second one, to me, felt too Rocky-ish, and it wasn't like its own identity. The first one was, Adonis coming into his own character, his own vibe, his own, you know, presence. And then the second one came, like, in my opinion, more of like almost Rocky 3.5.
Mm.
So with Creed 3, again, he became his own man again. It was like a completely different story. This was, I believe, his first time behind the camera, which was kind of unique, and you could tell because some of the camera angles and some of the scenes were just out of this world. And it was just, like I said, a different vibe, and it didn't feel that whole Rocky-ish feeling to it. It had its own identity.
Was there a big difference for you between the way Jordan did this versus the way Ryan Coogler directed Creed to begin with?
There's only one Coogler, so it's hard to compare those two.
Mm.
But, Jordan's style is very unique. He's really into like very dramatic angles, and you could see how Coogler affect him in a lot of ways because they kind of have like a lot of the same types of vibes in terms of, like I said, camera angles, shots, action shots, fighting scenes. Um, and I think in the second one there was a noticeable difference in those particular areas in the
Mm.
movie.
Mhm. Phil, do you think with the relationship between Coogler and Jordan, there's no way there's not the osmosis effect happening here, right? Because he's worked with Coogler on a number of occasions. He had to have went into this with at least some ideas and some things he learned, and maybe, of course, that his own ideas he brought to the table, obviously, but things that he picked up from Ryan as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would say so. I think like Ryan, he paid attention to a lot of smaller moments, like family
Mm,
moments. He really paid attention to the stuff behind the fighter, like all this stuff
mm,
with him and his wife and like continuing to build upon that relationship and building upon, his relationship with Marianne. And I think like as far as like stylistically, you can see all of his influences. Like he's very publicly said he's a big anime fan, and you can see the anime influences all over this movie.
yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, I could, especially that last fight sequence where the it was just those 2 and there was no crowd. I thought, "Man, that's pretty sweet." I really enjoyed that. Well, we know that the original cast is back. We know that unfortunately we lose a cast member here because even in the make believe world of these Hollywood movies, kids, these characters aren't going to live forever. So we did lose Adonis's mom in this movie, of course. Uh, well, we'll say, not mom, but the lady who took her in, Apollo's wife, of course, is the great Felicia Rashad, was back, but very briefly, and they made it clear that she'd already suffered a stroke. I got to tell you guys something, man. On that scene when she confused him for Apollo, that's still hard to watch, man. Holy Lord, what an intense moment that was, man.
Yeah, that was very tough to watch as somebody that has uh, been a caretaker for somebody that had a stroke and that had
Mm,
dementia. And once somebody has a stroke, it's kind of hard for them to ever really completely recover,
mhm,
especially once you get older, like to that kind of age. It gets really hard to recover from a stroke. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, I've sat up with my grandmother at that time when she was really sick and just had conversations with her. And she would just have whole conversations with me with somebody else. And I would just sit there and listen.
mm.
And it just it's hard, man. It's hard watching somebody that is so independent or so strong be, vulnerable in that way. And we saw Marianne for the entirety of this trilogy be a matriarch and be there for him. And it was tough. It was tough.
I'm sure it was. I have not personally, seen that happen in my family. We've definitely experienced loss, but nothing like that. So I can't imagine what that must feel like. I can empathize, but I can't really imagine what that is like to watch someone sort of, gradually over a period of time just begin to not be themselves. I guess I don't know how else to say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if it was just me, but I think in that scene when she was talking to him, that was the most he's ever looked like Apollo as well. Like his
yeah,
with the mustache and everything, like all the way up to this point in the movies, this is the most he's looked like Apollo to me.
yeah, that's a good call. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I thought, and not for nothing, that character deserved a really good send off. I mean, I don't know if she got the send off she deserved, but because in the Rocky films, as you guys know, a lot of times these characters die because it's a plot device. And I don't mean that, well, there's no thought put into it. I don't mean that, but like it's in order to move the story further along. So like anytime a character dies in the Rocky universe, Ray, anytime a character dies in the Rocky universe, it makes me feel like, why exactly did we do this? Oh, that's right. We got to move the story along. Did you feel that way with this one in particular or no?
Unfortunately, I felt like she. I don't know if she was really. It was necessary to kind of like push her away from the series.
Mhm.
I get why. I don't agree with it, but it was very traumatic. You know, to see her like that and to see her, you know, talk about Apollo. It was kind of rough. I've unfortunately been through that myself with my father,
Mm.
so it's tough. She's a fantastic actress.
Oh, she's so good. Yeah,
She's on a different level.
she very
Her
much is.
delivery, her
Yeah.
delivery, her presence is just top notch.
Yeah. I did love we got the callback to the very first scene in the first Creed movie where she's like, I remember seeing you for the first time and just like how angry you were. And it's just
Mm.
like getting that flashback in mind because now I've watched the movies back to back and just getting that visual. I think that it hit a lot harder.
It's true. What do we think about the character's decision to keep Dame's letters and photos and everything all those years? How do we feel about that? Phil, what do you think?
I think it's a decision a parent would make. I mean, for she doesn't understand in Donnie's point of view, like this guy's my friend, like, and no matter what, like I'm trying to be there for him. But she's looking at it as an adult, like, look, sometimes you gotta let other people go their own way. You cannot bring everybody with you.
Yeah.
And that guy, as much as you like that guy, as much as you see him as a brother, that he wasn't gonna do anything but drag you back to this place that you didn't belong.
I mean, had things played out differently, had he kept in touch and still continued to, be with this new family and grow and everything and become his own man, had they stayed in touch, would Dame have left that prison so cold and bitter? I mean, he may have just gotten out, looked him up just to hang out with him and he would have been fine. Like how much of this was really truly impacted by the fact that, Adonis was not there for him in his mind anyway.
I think it was a major part of it. At the end of the day, he was like, you never reached out to me. It's like, you kind of left me hanging, and I thought we were brothers. And I understand where the mother was coming from as well. She's protecting him. She's like, I don't want you in that crowd. It's not the crowd you belong in. There's
Mhm.
greater for you. Him being young doesn't see big picture. He just sees, hey, this is my friend. This is my brother. Why are you keeping away from him? She
Mhm.
sees it as a parent. Hey, I know this person is going to bring nothing but bad news to you. I got to keep you away from him at all costs, even if it means you being mad at me and having animosity towards me.
Yeah, I mean, Ray, you're a parent. I mean, it's you do anything to protect your kids, and look, no matter what your kid thinks, that your kid will never know better than you do. And getting your kid to understand that is impossible. Like my son's six,
Impossible.
right? My son's 16. There's no talking to him. He's got it all figured out. I'm just aggravating him. I'm like, son, I've been on the planet a little bit longer than you have, and that doesn't make me an expert. But I may have seen a few more things than you have in your 16 years of life. But Good luck getting him to.
Preach. Yeah, he's
Jeez.
16 and he knows everything. You basically don't have to teach him anything at this point. He's got
Yeah.
it all.
Oh, of
That's how they
course.
are. Yeah, my 12-year-old thinks the same thing.
Oh, brother, you don't even know. It's coming. I missed 12. I missed the 12. I'm telling you. Yeah, you'll find out. Jeez Louise.
Yeah,
Of course,
they
yours
don't
is
get
a
it.
girl, so you'll have a whole different, probably a whole different drama. But it's
Yeah,
it's nuts.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, anytime. Hey, look. So we got to talk about Jonathan Majors. We all three know about the stuff that's happened with this guy over the past several years. How Marvel had to move on, and people can debate that all day and say, well, woulda, coulda, shoulda, and should. I don't know if it's up to us to say that. I don't really know, but and I know some of the things that has gone on about him, Phil, but maybe not enough of the nuance to really understand. But I feel like Marvel kind of had to move on. They didn't really have a choice, but as a result of that, they pivoted to Doctor Doom. It was a hard pivot, buddy, with RDJ, but they had to move on. I thought, Phil, he is great in this movie, man. I really thought he was awesome.
Yeah, it's a shame that a lot of that stuff really tarnished his image because he's such a good actor, like a very, very good actor. Um, you want to believe this guy because when he comes back and our first introduction to him, he's almost like Rocky. He's like very like he's almost like very quiet and reserved. He's got like his this way about him, and the more and more you see about him, it's like, wait a minute. And so like the longer the movie goes on, you see him go from like kind of quiet and sheepish to very like braggadocious and
Mm,
like very arrogant. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Where did that guy go? Where did the guy
right.
go that we first were introduced to?
Where's the
Was
humble
it
guy? He left.
right? Was that too much, guys? Was the flip too much, you think, or was it just about right?
I thought it was perfect. I thought that he played it perfectly as the villain of this movie. I think that he is the best Creed antagonist by far. Like I think easily the
Mm,
best Creed antagonist. Like I'm almost cautious to call him a villain because he's not really a villain because his motives are really understandable. But I think that he played this very well because he got the audience and Adonis to believe like, oh, he just wants a second chance. Like he just had such a hard time, and then I think the great thing about the Marianne subplot is not just that she kept him away from him, but it wasn't like she took all the letters and threw them in the garbage. She read the letters. She clearly was keeping up with what this guy was doing
mm.
and who he was to go, no, you stay away from him.
And had the letters been, "I found the Lord while I'm in here, and I want to do better," then maybe she shows him the letters at that point.
No, but she clearly, I mean, it's to the point of how she found Donnie in the first place
Mm.
that she was keeping up with a lot of things that Apollo didn't know about. And so no, she was looking around like, "Nah, you stay away from that
Right.
dude."
Yeah, I can't say as I blame her. And man, this is me but it's in my head. If I don't say it, I'll forget it. But this is me jumping already to the end, which is nuts. Was the end too quick? Because you guys know the formula for these Rocky movies for this universe is
Mhm.
he loses the first fight, right? He's going to come back, but that first fight he's probably going to lose. Because at the end of this, I'm checking the time, going, and I haven't watched this movie in forever, and I'm like, wait a minute, that was the last fight. So for some reason that had slipped my mind. Did the formula feel weird to you at all, Phil, or no?
No, I thought it worked, because we had the pacing and the lead up to get there. If it was just like we just went straight to the fight and he beat him and that was the end of the movie, I would have been more confused. But we had the scene with him and Marianne, and she told him like, "You can find a better way. Your dad didn't think he could. Your dad thought he had to solve everything by fighting. You don't have to do that."
Mm,
And so for him to have the fight with him and still go to his locker room and try to talk to him, that tells me that Marianne's words really hit home.
mm. Yeah, that's fair. Ray, Phil mentioned, that Jonathan Major's character here in this movie was probably the best antagonist so far. And of course, we're talking about Dame Anderson. But it's worth noting here, Ray, that his other two antagonists are in this movie. Colin is here, and so is Drago, and they're bros. And like, you know, Adonis Creed is now like a part-time promoter, I guess you could say. And so these guys are sort of in his stable of fighters. Ray, how do you feel about that? Does all that click for you? Was it cool to see both those guys in this movie? What's your take on that?
I was okay with those guys being in the movie because, he was being the promoter. It was almost at that point in the movie, I was getting nervous that this was almost turning into a Rocky 3 where, Adonis is becoming too soft and becoming too humanized and like being more of like just a down to earth guy. He's not gritty anymore into boxing. But then, like I said, it kind of like deviated to, his true roots at the end. But yeah, I mean, him switching gears and being the promoter and having the guys fighting, under his camp was kind of unique. And the fact that, Diamond won the title from his fighter was good. If he had not, and he had to beat Creed the first time, I think would have kind of soiled the movie to some extent.
Yeah, and also, guys, let me say this. We know how this movie ends with both these guys sort of back on the same page and, Dame forgiving Adonis and everything. I think that works because I don't think Dame did so much damage that they couldn't come back from it.
Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com.
I mean, had he threatened his wife, had he done something in front of his kid, had he killed the guy that he fought in the ring, had any of those things happen, I don't think he and Adonis are playing nice at the end. I think there would have been just way too much to come back from. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah. I mean, he didn't go that deep and that dark, whereas like there's no coming back from this. I agree with you. Like he, did the hokey dokey on him and, came across like this humble, very like peaceful guy. And then he became like this flamboyant, arrogant guy at the end. But then, when, they finally met at the end, he kind of mellowed out again and said, kind of let it go and kind of realized, hey, he meant well and he was doing what was right for him at the time. And his mother probably had a major influence into what happened, which I still agree with what she did. And, it kind of worked. Like, yeah, like you said, had he, done something to his wife, done something to the daughter, or even like you said, killed somebody, it would have ruined his character. So he never went that dark.
Phil, I'm glad it didn't get to that point. I'm glad at the end he's human. Like he understands now, not that Creed's better, but he understands now that, that it's the past. And I think he says something to that degree at the end. I really like how they kind of came back full circle, Phil.
Yeah. I don't think he ever felt like really like Adonis was a bad person. I think he felt like he took my spot. He didn't earn it. He was a guy that got to go and live in Bel Air and have a silver spoon, and he didn't earn it. And so I think when he fought him and he beat him, he's like, oh no, he's better than me. He earned all of this.
Mm.
And so yeah, I love that it came full circle. I love that. I mean, from the very beginning, Adonis' story is survival's remorse. Like he outlived his actual mother, and then his dad was gone, and then all of this stuff with him and trying to be back where he came from, and being able to leave, having somebody like Marianne that could come and save him. Dame didn't have that.
Mm.
And I think he felt guilty about that. I think he felt guilty, and that's why he kept going back there to be with Dame, because he was like, well, I'm all he has. I'm his brother. And so then when he felt like he let him down, it was like, Well, I let him down, and I was all he had. But that's not your fault. That's not your responsibility.
Yeah, yeah. And we've seen this, and I'm going to say the word movie, but God, I'm sure all three of us have seen and heard this kind of thing play out in the real world. You think you're better than me. Look at you. Look at all the stuff you have. And it's that thing where he's trying to shame this guy into working hard and getting to where he is. I mean, I guess from Dane's perspective, Ray, it's like, well, I didn't have those opportunities. I didn't have the chances that you have. But there's moments when he's bagging on him that I'm like, hey, man, Adonis is the only one that gave you an opportunity. And as soon as you came to him, he gave you an opportunity. It didn't take him months. You didn't have to blow his phone up. From the first time you broke bread with him in that diner, he gave you an opportunity, and then you're still bagging on him. Some of that kind of felt off to me, but I guess from the character's perspective, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of pent up frustration, a lot of pent up anger.
Mm.
I guess because all of those letters he had written to him, and was like, wait a minute, dude, no response, no hellos, no nothing. So he probably had a lot of pent up, anger about that. And then, when he finally sees where he's living and what he's doing, he's like, wow, you're living a really good life. You got the wife, you got the kid, you finished boxing unscathed. This could have been me. And it's a lot of jealousy there. You could see it throughout the whole movie until the end, that he was like, you stole my spot. This was mine. This could have been all mine. This should have been mine. So, yeah, like I said, his anger was partly justified because, he didn't know that those letters were basically, intervened by the mother. He just thought, like, Creed was just like, no, I'm good. I don't want to respond to you. I'm done with you. To his knowledge.
Yeah, it's complicated. It's very complicated because I don't think it's just as simple as, all right, well, he ran away and left him. I mean, from Dave's point of view, he's looking like, well, I saved your life. I came in with the gun and got those guys off of you. I saved your life. And then I had to face the consequences of that. And then you get to go away and have a great life. And I was the man before I went to jail. I was Golden Gloves champion. I go away, go to jail. And then you go and have this great career and become a millionaire and be a family man. And I get nothing. But you wouldn't have had any of that if I wouldn't have intervened that night.
I mean, he's not wrong, Phil.
Yeah.
Right?
And so I could totally see why he's angry. And I think that's what makes him such a great character.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to argue with his viewpoint because he's not wrong. Because
no. The anger is definitely justified.
Yeah.
Like he took the bullet for him, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, if this wasn't for me, you would never have this. Like, he stepped in, and he's probably regretted it. He's like, I should have just let you get beat up.
Or, if you didn't run, you would have been here with me. Although I don't believe that, because I think that even if he didn't run, Marianne would have gotten him out of the situation. He didn't have priors like Dame did, so he wouldn't have gone down for 18 years like he did.
I thought of that too. I did think of that. I said, had they done it where they both got arrested, she would have ended up bailing him out.
He would have gotten out of jail anyway. He wouldn't have stayed in jail as long as Dame did.
Yeah, it's and then, by the way, guys, that would have created animosity all by itself, I think.
Yes.
Right? For
Dame. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. But I mean, I think when you look at it from two point of views, when you look at it from a kid's point of view, where both of these guys are looking like, that's my brother and that's my friend. I want to try and be there for him forever. And Dame's like, well, I did what I had to do to be there for him by pulling that gun out. And it's like, well, you didn't have to do that though. You didn't have to pull a gun. You could have just pulled them guys off of him. You didn't have to pull a gun. Once you pulled the gun out, you put yourself in that situation. You made bad choices as well. And again, I think that's what Marianne saw. Like, well, wait a minute. This guy also doesn't make good choices. And whether you feel attached to this guy or not because of your shared experience in the group home, this guy makes bad decisions. And I'm putting you in a spot where you can make better decisions. You don't have to be over there.
Yeah, he is Golden Gloves champion. Why didn't he just go? I mean, because had Adonis gotten to his feet, he at least could have had a fighting chance. They could have took him on, but
Yeah, but I mean, even like you see in those scenes where he won that fight, like you're doing shady stuff with money, you're you're riding dirty with a gun. Like you don't need to do that. If you got a future and you want to be an Olympian, like you're saying, then why are you making these kind of decisions?
yeah, it seems a little contradictory to what because if boxing is going to get you out of the life, then why are you messing around and ruining your chances of getting out of it? Like,
Yes, I think everybody saw that, but Donnie. I mean, I think that's why it was important that Duke Jr. was in the scenes early, and he saw this guy early on. He's like, "Nah, this guy ain't. No, this guy ain't it, bro."
He's not the one.
well, look,
Everybody tried to tell him.
you're right. Everybody tried to tell him. And here's something else I'll say about the Rocky verse. I guess we'll call it the Creed verse at some point. But like in the Rocky verse, kids, you don't got to necessarily work your way up. Okay. You just got to have a beef. This thing's like pro wrestling, guys. You just got to have a beef and say, we don't have to wait till Sunday. We can, like, and then next thing you know, you got a world title shot. They hand those things out like it's free bottles of water in this universe. I mean, after all these movies, I didn't bump into it too hard, but I kind of also bumped into it a little bit. I'm like, come on what planet? Right? Am I the
Did you
only
have any
one?
fights prior to this?
Well, not for 18 years, right?
Yeah, it was like automatically, oh, you want a title shot? No problem. You're my
Yeah.
friend. Go ahead. Good luck.
Yeah.
I did think it was genius that Dame used Rocky's story against him. I was
Yes!
like, "Oh, that's pretty smart."
It's great.
I thought that was genius.
Because he's kind of not wrong. Of course, Rocky was also not a convicted felon, if we're being honest. But like, he wasn't wrong about a lot of what he said, which is what got him.
Yeah, and also the fact that Donnie and Rocky have a relationship, so he's looking at it like, well, yeah, and clearly Donnie idolizes Rocky. That has been like a through line throughout this entire series. He clearly idolizes Rocky. So once he said that, he was like, oh yeah, like Rocky.
Right? Yeah. Well, again, he's gonna say what he's gonna say. I mean, he wants to get this fight, but at the time, I'm like, nah, dude, you haven't done anything to deserve this fight. But Adonis feels like he owes him. Which, again, we're back to that question, but I guess that makes sense. But yeah, it's like, all right, well, whatever. But
Yeah. Duke tried to tell him early on. He's like, you don't owe this guy anything. Get this guy out of here.
and it's also maybe that MC Hammer effect here too, right? Like of I made it. Now I gotta help others that the guys that they're my crew. I grew up with them. Maybe there's some of that in play, but like you get, as we said when we did the Hammer episode, Phil, like you got to be careful who you let into your inner circle because some of those people just don't belong there, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, and that's a very common thing with a lot of black celebrities that make it. They feel like they have to lend a hand back, and there is nothing wrong with lending a hand back and trying to help people. But some people you just cannot take with you. Some people you just can't take with you, man. And I I think that there's some of that to Dame's story, but I think also, again, it's just so complicated because once you add the Leon aspect to it, and like just that aspect of it, that he lost his temper on a guy that was beating him as a kid and beating Dame as well, and so Dame was in a situation where it's like, I understand why you blew up, I understand why you lost it. Nobody else understands, but I do because I was there.
hmm. When I first saw this and he starts finally coming clean with her and telling her about this guy, for a half second, I thought, is this going to lead to I was sexually abused by this guy? Like, I almost thought, not, I mean, of course, that affects the story, but it doesn't affect the story in terms of, yes, it means Adonis has a lot of things to work through that he's never worked through, and so does Dame. But at the same time, I think making the choice they made was just saying he beat on them was enough. I don't know that we needed to add that layer, but I kind of thought that layer was coming when I first saw this film, actually.
Yes. I for a second thought that as well, because I was like, why is he keeping it so close to the vest? Why won't he tell
Yes.
anybody what happened to him? But I think it's just the point that um from the very beginning of this franchise, he has been very hyper masculine, very guarded, and he's been like that with everybody but his wife. And so every time he shuts her out, she's just like, "Well, what are you doing? Like, just tell me what's happening. Like, where are you?" And so when he hits those blind spots where he just doesn't want to talk to her, like it just seems like she is just so completely like baffled by it because it's like you don't do that to me, you do that to everybody else.
Mm. Yeah, it's good call. So, Ray, the she we're talking about, of course, is Tessa Thompson. She's back as Bianca. Out of the three movies, Ray, which one do you think was the character's strongest in your opinion? Was it this one or no?
Honestly, this one was like, you got to tell me what's going on. Like, why you have this wall up? What are you keeping away from me? And she was very persistent in the whole movie. And, she, gets really involved more. I thought she had a bigger presence, had a bigger
Mm.
voice in this movie. And she's an awesome actress too. She deserves her flowers. And I just thought that at the end of the day, she brought that soft side of him to the picture. She was the one that kept him calm, kept him kind of at bay, and like all that aggression, that anger and masculinity didn't really play a factor when it came to her.
I agree with you. I think that she is much like Adrian was for Rocky. Bianca very much. She's definitely Adonis's partner in every sense of the word, but she centers Adonis and she keeps him grounded, which I imagine a premier athlete who's got the whole world thrown at his feet all the time needs to be centered and grounded, or God knows what the guy ends up becoming. But like, I I I don't personally know if I think that this was the character's best movie. I kind of feel like part one was, in as much as we got the exposition of the character, we got her background, we saw how strong she was, and how she just wasn't gonna put up with any of Donnie's crap. But I do like what she did here, and Tessa is always great, obviously.
Yeah, well, part one was more of her character and the struggle of like losing her hearing and trying to make it in the music business. I think three was more of her being the mother, being the
Mhm.
foundation of the family with the daughter. So I thought that was the
Yeah.
Yeah.
difference. Like she's like, look, we're a family now. We have a daughter. You've got to get your ish together.
Yeah. And again, to just go back to how Dame is just such a great villain, because how manipulative. He sat and watched her whole story and how she's a producer now. She doesn't get to perform her own songs. And then he tried to use that to say, hey, how do you feel about watching somebody else perform your own songs? And the whole time he's sitting there talking about her husband.
Oh, good call. Yeah, yeah, it really was. Because that bit where he visited their home could have went south really quickly.
Yeah, it just showed that he was watching everything that this guy did, looking
Yeah,
for any way to like pick and prod at him.
yeah, it's true. Kinda get his hooks in.
Yeah, he kept throwing little daggers,
Yeah.
little small daggers. And each shot he had, he was like taking it. Like, yeah. You could tell how much her music career meant to her, and for him to throw that little knife there was like, wow, this guy, he's the real deal.
Well, and also, like, they have really moved the story along, the time frame along, because now, because he asked her how many Grammys she has now. So they've really evolved these characters, which I really kinda love. I thought that was a great touch.
Yeah, because their daughter is 6 by this movie, right?
Yeah, she's like six or seven.
Technically, well, I guess you could, because 'cause you're counting the when she was born in the last movie. So, yeah, I guess 6 is about right.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I thought that they did a great job with her character, Bianca, and like like you said, giving Donnie somebody that's a partner that centers him
Mhm.
and really giving him a chance to not just, come back and reclaim his dad's legacy, but give him the attempt to be a better man than his dad was. And I think that that's really the message of this entire trilogy. Um, that visual of him at the end with his daughter and his wife in the ring, Apollo didn't have that moment. And so it's good that Donnie got to learn a lot of lessons that he didn't learn.
That's good. Yeah, for sure. And she's going to end up being a little boxer too, by the way. Phil, you called it on the last episode, and that's Mila Davis Kent as Amara. Like they're setting the stage, man. Is that where we go from here, guys? You think, Phil? You think that's where we go from here? That she, I mean, of course, you'd have to do a massive time jump if you chose to go that route. But like, you
Yeah.
think in 10 years or so, that's what we're looking at?
I think they started setting it up in the second movie. And then they did a lot to lay the groundwork for it in this movie. She keeps asking about fighting. He talks about wanting to teach her how to fight when she gets into a fight at school. Um, yeah, so I think that's where we're going. And again, I think that's a great story because again, that's something Apollo didn't get to do. Apollo didn't get to teach him how to fight, but he can teach his daughter how to fight.
I thought it was funny that when she started hitting the bag, that he barely showed her, and she just already knows how to turn her hands. And I'm like, she's been watching, like she's been
Yeah.
paying attention, and she's a Creed, so this is going to come natural for her, I suppose.
Yeah,
So
I thought
that's cool.
I thought those scenes were great when she was in the gym watching his fights, and um she just naturally picked up on a lot of things because she had already been watching, just like he has, like just like how he naturally picked up fighting without learning it from his dad.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. That's true. Very true. See, we've talked about the cast. Wood Harris is back as Tony Little Duke Evers. Of course, we've mentioned him. We know that Victor Drago is back. That's Florian Montano is back, and we've also got, of course, Pretty Ricky Conlon as Anthony Bello. He's back here. We also have Jose Benavidez Jr. as Felix Chavez, and he is actually a professional boxer. Challenged for the WBO welterweight title in 2018. And he's the brother of two-time WBC super middleweight champion David Benavidez. I mean, for what little he got to do here, of course he's believable because he's the real deal. But I thought he was great. I'm sure it was a plot device to get, Major's character where he needed to be. When he's laying there looks like he's bleeding out, guys. I thought, holy crap, he's killed this guy. Now we're getting right. I'm like, here we go. It's Ivan Drago all over again or whatever. But I'm glad the guy came back in the end. He was talking about training again. And I'm like, let's don't keep repeating this, Rocky people. Let's don't, you don't always have to kill people. Come on now. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that they went with that, had him fight one of his fighters from his gym, so that we didn't have to do the Donnie fights a villain and then loses to get back to the second fight. Because I think with the fight with Felix, we saw immediately why Dame is dangerous. Like, I mean, just how dirty he fought, but how slick he was with how dirty he fought. Like, he throw like these little slick elbows in, and he always do it in a way where if you didn't catch him, like, oh, well, what? I didn't do nothing. Which fit his character too, because from the beginning, he's like, what? I didn't do nothing. I mean, even if you look at the differences between his entrances, when he comes out for the Felix fight, he comes out with that hoodie on, very subdued, still trying to act like this underdog. Like, yeah, what? Like, I just want a chance. And then later, when he comes out with the fight with Donnie, he comes out with his shirt out, all flashy with the Nipsey Hussle music on.
Yes.
Totally different guy.
And he had that belt for like 10 minutes. So I hope he saved some of those paychecks he got. Because did we establish the timeline, guys, between when he challenged him and when he took the fight? How many months? Because boxing matches take a heck of a long time in the real world, like 6 months or better. I mean, did they establish that? I don't know if I can't remember a timeline being established there.
I don't know that they did, but yeah, he very quickly went from holding the belts up like, look, I won, and trying to get his approval till standing on that beach talking trash to him later. I was like, what? All right.
Right. It's like, what happened? How are you the same guy? Right.
Yeah, I really like the Felix fight though, where the way it established that he's a guy that looks for any weakness, which again fits his character as well. he kept looking for any spot where it looked like he was hurt, and he would target it. Like every time he tried to throw a little slick punch at his arm where he's bruised every chance he got. He tried to like shiv him with his elbow, and then like use that to win. Like he was he was very crafty, like because he was an older fighter. I think that made sense. He wasn't just coming out and just knocking people out.
Yeah, had some Brock Lesnar elbows going there, I think. So, got to open them up the hard way, kids. Well, I'm with you. I thought that fight was very well done. That's the thing you can always say, guys, about the Rocky verse is that the fights typically are really well done. And, kudos will always go initially to Sylvester Stallone for wanting to bring realism into these movies and making it look and feel as real as it possibly could without these guys killing each other. And I thought that was a nice touch. And I thought that the fights we did see in this movie were really good. Tom Clark's 6M podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark's 6M podcast sent you. Let me ask you this, Ray. In terms of Jonathan Major's character, I found it interesting that when he took this fight with Chavez, or that Chavez agreed or whatever, that there was not like, wow, this Dame guy, look at him. He's a beast. He's this, he's that. There was none of that happening, which is a route they could have took. They could have said, man, this guy has way more power than any of us believed or knew that he did. But again, they just didn't go that route. Do you like the way they handled him in the fight? Like Phil said, he's throwing some cheap shots, but he's kind of getting away with it and he's not getting away with it. Because that felt more realistic than the alternative, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And the way he won, like every dirty angle he took. Throw a quick elbow. When they clinched, throw a little kidney punch. When he knew that his arm was hurt, he hit him. And he plotted and did everything he could to win that fight. And he got it, and he, like I said, just knew what to do and when to do it without getting disqualified, without getting caught, and he planned it perfectly. Like he had a game plan in mind, and he manipulated getting the title shot in to begin with.
When you guys first saw this movie, did you see that coming? Did you know that at all?
I thought that it was going to segue to like the typical Rocky movie, like Phil had mentioned too. That he was going to fight Creed, beat Creed, and then Creed had to redeem himself. Like, it was great that he had to be one of Creed's fighters.
Yeah.
And then Creed has to come out of retirement to get the belt. Like, that was like, oh, okay, this is different. This is
from
new.
Each other as well.
I like that vibe.
In the very first fight in the movie, Creed does the same thing. He notices the weakness. He's not dirty with it, but he notices where he's weak at, and he pinpoints it, and that's how he wins the fight. And he even used the checkmate like he did early in the movie as well. So I love that they showed early on that they learned from each other as fighters. And I think that's also part of why Dane felt like, well, I'm better than you because you learned everything from me. No, he was always better than you because he came from boxing royalty.
And plus, he got to learn from Rocky, and you did not. There was part of that as well. I love the bit where, and honestly, I kind of thought they should have left Dame on the mat longer than they did in the end. I kind of thought they helped him back up and got him on that stool way quicker than they should have. But at least when he was getting back up to the stool, you guys could see his bell was rung. Jonathan Majors did a great job of making you think this guy is not even on the same planet right now, because Creed really did a number on him. I thought that was a really nice touch, actually.
Yeah. I think the actual final fight is very good. Like the anime influences of it are really good. You can tell that Michael B. Jordan really likes Dragon Ball Z. There's several Dragon Ball Z references throughout this movie. I mean, just the idea of Donnie training with all of the guys that he beat before that are now allies, that's a total Goku thing to do.
Mm,
um,
yeah.
even even like the way that they do the punches and collide at the same time, that's straight from the Goku and Vegeta fight from the Buu saga. The way that Dame punches him and the camera stays on Donnie with his mouth agape, that's Goku punching Frieza in the fight from the Frieza saga. There's several angles like that and references taken directly from Dragon Ball Z.
See, I don't know my Dragon Ball Z, so I'm barely familiar with it, but it doesn't surprise me because we know Jordan's a big fan, and like you said, he's an anime guy. Hey, Phil, kind of off topic, but not off topic. What could this guy do? Because we know he's a fan. What animes out there that Jordan could physically get involved in? You think what would make sense, or is there one?
Mm. I know that he said that he's worked on something with a studio that he wants to make. I don't know. I know that he's managed to add all of these things into all the movies. I mean, like I don't know if you know, like the armor that he wears is Killmonger. I think he's pretty much publicly said that it was influenced by Vegeta's armor.
Oh yeah, okay,
Um,
I can see that.
he's done small things in a bunch of movies that he's in now. I mean, even when we see Donnie at the beginning of the movie when he sneaks out of his room, I think he has like a Naruto poster on his room. He has a bunch of anime stuff in his
Hmm.
room.
I like that. I like that. I like that. There's some connection happening there. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know though. I think I'm trying to think like where would he fit? I personally would love to see him in another comic book movie. I know that he's done two at this point. We don't have to speak of that other one, but pretty great in Black Panther. Um,
Yes.
but I don't. I'm sure he'll if given the opportunity, he'd jump at trying to do anything anime related. Very surprised he's trying to do this Thomas Crown Affair thing.
He's starring, writing, or starring, producing, and directing.
Yeah. Quickly coming together. I'm excited for it because this guy hasn't missed in a long time. Most of his movies have been phenomenal.
I totally agree. The guy is just, yeah. I mean, we've gushed over him a lot, but he freaking deserves it because he's done great things, and will continue to do so. I'm sure. Yeah, he's. I mean, I was going to call him one of a kind. I mean, he kind of is. Like he's just one of those guys that can do a little bit of everything, which is really cool. I mean, this trilogy, guys, is definitely going to be a jewel in the crown for him, right? You can say that this, even though he did things before and he's done things since, do we look as the Creed trilogy as being like this is his defining role? Do you think he's got so much work ahead of him? It's too early to say that. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's a little too early to tell, but this is definitely his footprint, and this is where he really has made a mark in the movie industry. I'm sure he'll do something else that would be phenomenal, but as of right now, today, yeah, this is kind of like him. Like I said, putting his footprint in show business and in the movie world.
Mhm.
But I mean, this is his first franchise, right? This is the first time where he's actually led the franchise as the leading man, and I
Yeah.
think that he did a phenomenal job. I mean, he's done other movies where he's been like a one-off. We already knew he could be a leading man, but I think this proved that he could carry a franchise on his own.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Ray, I'm also with you that I think it's too early to say this was like, by the way, what's Denzel's defining role? What is like you could be here all day and you could make a case for a lot of his roles. You could say this about any actor. Like uh, just anybody you
Yeah.
can think
What?
of. Like, what's the movie? Well, he's got a lot. You know what I mean? Like, you could say that. I
Yeah.
think in the end, we're going to be able to point to several things in this guy's career and make a good argument for a lot of them.
Yeah, there's just too many. Denzel, forget it. That's impossible to to put his footprint because I can't remember the last stinker he's ever made because they're all just phenomenal. And I think with him, with the Creed saga, like he showed his depth. He showed that he could be a leading man, that he could, carry the whole movie, and his character just progresses through the whole saga. And Michael B. Jordan's, he's the man right now. Give him his flowers.
He's 38. He's 38. I mean, he's got 30 more years in Hollywood, maybe more. Like, dude, that is insane to me
Yeah.
how young this guy is.
Yeah. And what he's managed to do. And I mean, the amount of time he's been in Hollywood as well. And I mean, like when I think of like breakout roles, I thought he was phenomenal in Chronicle. I thought he was like really the breakout guy in that movie.
I agree with that. Yeah. Well, for me, in terms of what movies, the best one, I got love for part one. I thoroughly enjoyed part one. And I love part one because not only do we get a new character, but we also get familiarity, but not so much that we can't appreciate the birth of a new character and watch this character begin to become something special. Part two, I also enjoyed because I'm a longtime Rocky fan. Although we did all three, I think, pretty much agree in that episode two that, we kind of felt like, it was maybe a little too much at any given time. I enjoyed this film. I do. I think part three is a great movie, but for me, I think part one edges it out. But that's me talking. I just think, and that's his origin story. And I don't think they lost a step. I don't think they lost a step with part two. But for me, I just have a connection to that part one for whatever reason. I just kind of, I won't say prefer it, but for me personally, I think it's the best movie of the three.
Yeah, I can understand that. I go back
get
and
it.
forth personally, but I don't know. I kind of lean on three. I think three might be the best one, and I think it's mostly because three has the most well-rounded antagonist. I think that Jonathan Majors adds so much to this movie. And I think that was the only thing that was really missing in the first one, that he just didn't have a compelling antagonist in that movie.
Yeah, good call. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to go with Ray, only because it was a unique challenge. And then, being biased because I have a daughter, the bond that he had with the daughter, now he's training her how to fight, and how she just adapted to it so quickly and just knew exactly how to do it. Like, he showed her once and she was like, I got it. How do you do this? She got it. I was like, wow. It was just like, it's just my favorite.
Yeah. I love how LA this movie is as well. Because, I mean, the first one, it's Philadelphia to its core. Like, they make a point to, like, immerse you in Philadelphia and its culture. This movie, from top to bottom, is a movie that takes place in California.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, it does have a different feel. And the whole time Rocky's not around, you're kind of like, where did he go? Like, what happened to him? We haven't heard a thing about it. They mentioned him a couple of times, but that's really it. But no, Phil, that's a good call. Like, I kind of feel like to move the story along, you kind of got to get out of Philly to some degree and start doing something else to just, if for no other reason, you're evolving the characters, I guess you could say. I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I just think there were some great choices made early in the movie with the locale and stuff, and his life, and how his life from the beginning in like his adolescence to where he is as an adult is firmly in California. And I mean, not for nothing, when I saw the movie, I was in California. I think that added to it. It just has this definite feel like Los Angeles. Even Dame's character, everything about him, they make sure, like Crenshaw, like comes out to the Nipsey record. The musical choices they made were great. Having Watchers at the beginning and then doing the J. Cole version of over the same Watchers beat when he's training later, really, really good. When he's laying down in the ring and he's trying to get up when he's training with Drago, and they do those flashbacks of every time when he got up from his fights. Also, excellent.
Really good. Yeah, I was here for that. I enjoyed that as well. Really good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think there's enough here to, obviously, this is a fully realized, we're handing the Rocky verse to Creed. This is Adonis's universe now. And like, it's a fully realized version of that. And I think everything is very familiar, but yet there's new exciting things happening. I had a great vibe through this whole movie. I never once had a vibe of this doesn't fit, this doesn't work. But the guy that started all this, and without whom we wouldn't have a universe here to talk about, did have a problem with it. It was announced in April of 2021. Stallone himself said he was not cast in the film, and he actually expressed distaste for the darker direction. He said that's a regretful situation because I know what it could have been. It was taken in a direction that is quite different than I would have taken it. It's a different philosophy. Erwin Winkler's and Michael B. Jordan's philosophy. I wish them well, but I'm much more of a sentimentalist. I like my heroes getting beat up. I just don't want them going into that dark space. I just feel like people have enough darkness. I can't say I disagree with him, but I also can't say that Jordan and the direction they took was the wrong direction. I see both sides. I totally get it. Like, I don't hate on Stallone at all for that, to be honest with you guys. I think he makes a lot of sense. And he's got a lot of experience doing this. And he knows his characters better than anybody. But like, they chose to grow this up, maybe you could say to a certain degree, and to move this forward. And in the past few years, if we can't talk about mental health, if we can't talk about dealing with problems and opening up, I don't know where we are if we can't talk about those things, right? Like, but to be honest, again, Phil, I'm okay with both sides of this.
I would be curious. What does he mean by the darkness? Does he mean like like the stuff with Leon, and what does he mean?
That would be what I would think, because we're talking about early life and backstory and all that stuff. That would be my guess, but I don't think that was so dark that I don't know.
Me neither. That's why I'm confused as to what does he mean by
Yeah.
that. To be honest with you, I really feel like he feels like the Rocky franchise is his thing,
Sure.
and he's having problems letting go the reins of it. And I think that was apparent in the making of the second one because his voice was all over it. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that both of the movies that were better had less of his voice in it.
Mm.
And I mean, that's not a knock to him. I just think that he has this way of doing things. Of course, Rocky is his baby, and so he's always going to see it a certain way. But I do think that there's something to needing new voices in a room and needing new approaches because we've gotten, you said 9 Rocky movies up to that point.
Mm.
We got 6 Rocky movies up to the franchise. It's okay. We can do something different.
Yeah, we can do something different. Yeah, it's going to be all right. Ray, do you agree with that? Do you think that Stallone has a hard time letting go, or do you think he's just giving his input? Or, I mean, what do you think?
I think that's his baby, which I think is understandable. And the theory that it was a little too dark. If you remember, in the beginning of the first Rocky series, Rocky was a collector. He's collecting money. Yeah, so I'm like, I don't understand. Like, you weren't a Boy Scout. Yeah. You were cracking knuckles collecting money.
Yeah. This isn't the first time I've seen him say that. Like, I know that at the end of the Rambo franchise, Rambo was supposed to die. And he put the veto on that because he didn't want the dark ending. So I've heard him say things like that before, but I'm just kind of confused as to what was so dark about this movie that he disagreed with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, was it the fact that, the gun and the the violence in the beginning with the two guys and like how he broke up the fight? I'm like, dude, there was so much darkness in your first movie. You're beating up guys and a lot of profanity, a lot of like, I don't know, like where is this coming from? You got to change direction. You don't want Rocky 19.
Right.
You gotta, you gotta evolve. You got to switch it up a little bit. You can't have the same recipe all the time.
What was the Spaceballs joke when he's like, coming up next, the Pongo's review of Rocky 5,000. I just remember that. Yeah. And, hey, not for nothing, but there's some weird Adrian stuff in that first movie too, where like she's really young. And I'm like, this is starting to feel like I haven't watched the movie in a while, but some of it's a little creepy, I think, by today's standards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, even the way Paulie treats her, the way Paulie acts
Yes.
in general, it's kind of weird. I mean, Paulie is pretty racist throughout the entire franchise.
Big time.
Just a little.
Big time. Yeah.
Yeah, and like they almost in the first Rocky, I thought she like was like a little like on the spectrum. I was like, is she slow? Is she
Yeah.
like, because he painted her like, hey, she's really quiet, she's really shy, and I'm like, okay, maybe she's autistic or something, and I'm not obviously. And I feel bad, but like they painted a weird picture of her in the beginning, and I was like, what's going on?
And also, guys, it could have been a heck of a lot darker. Dame didn't kill anybody. When he got out of that, when he came to help with that gun, he could have killed the guy. He could have killed the other guy in the ring. It could have been, as we said before, sexual assault as a kid, not just physical. They could have got way darker. So I'm not sure where. I mean, I don't know. I don't get that either.
Yeah, we never find out what his priors were either. And I mean, I think you could make some assumptions on what his priors were for him to get that much time in jail. But this goes to my point of why Marianne was like, yeah, no, stay away from this guy, because even when he was sitting there and he asked him, oh, you ended up in there for 18 years. He's like, yeah, they added 2 years. Why'd they add 2 years though?
Right.
What'd you do? And he never comes back and says what he did.
I never finished my meals on time.
That's a great call. Yeah, dude. I don't know. Like, yeah, you get the feeling he got in there and had to fight to stay alive, and then things got out of hand. Maybe.
Yeah, when you kind of think hard about a lot of stuff he said, I'm like, wait a minute, that don't add up. What do you mean?
Yeah.
But again, I think that's what Marianne saw. Like, yeah, nah, you stay away from him.
Yeah, because even before the fight, he had the gun with him. He was John Moranting too much.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was doing a lot, and I think everybody around Donnie could see that, but Donnie.
Yeah, really. All right, look, you got locked up young. I get it. A lot of your developmental, well, not too young, but young enough. Like a lot of your developmental years that could have came, your best years in boxing were all taken from you. Totally understand. You did it to help a friend. Totally understand. But also down deep, you may just be an SOB as well. It's possible to be both. It's possible to have everything taken from you, and deep down, you're kind of a dick anyway. Like, so maybe that's what's at play here.
I think that the movie showed that he was always a little bit manipulative.
Yeah.
And he didn't see it because he was being manipulated a little bit by Dame. And I think that's what it was. But the later the movie goes on, like, Dame has good qualities to him. I don't think he's totally a bad guy, and I think that's why by the end of the movie, Donnie's like, this wasn't all your fault either. You were a product of your environment. And again, he didn't have a Marianne to save him from that situation and give him a better life.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, his heart was in the right place. He just didn't know how to handle a lot of situations, with that fight. Like, he could have easily just physically just pushed those guys off, maybe even thrown a couple of punches. He didn't have to bring out a gun. Like, he's too extreme. He's too hot-headed.
And, you're not going to learn a whole lot more when you get locked up. The learning ends at that point. No.
And that's what was Marianne's point of, like, what was he going to say locked up in that place? And it's like, yeah, no, he wasn't going to become a better person in there. That's not what they do in there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're just trying to survive. You're just trying to survive. That's all prison is. Unfortunately, we won't have to get into a big debate on the American penal system here, but yeah, it's never really worked quite the way it's supposed to have worked, I imagine. But hey, that's just me talking. Well, look, again, I feel like this movie, if there's no more, okay, what a way to end it, because like there's a lot of good that's done in this film. And in terms of the future, here's what I'll say. As of February 2nd, 2023, Michael B. Jordan confirmed that a fourth Creed film was happening for sure, and that spin-offs were also being considered. And when asked about the future of the Creed movie franchise, he said this: but you will see the Creedverse continue to grow and expand. I think that we invested in some really interesting characters that I think a lot of people are responding to. I have to give a political answer to that. There's going to be more of the Creed family, and there's going to be more of some of the characters that you love from this movie. I just don't know what package it's going to be in yet. In November of the same year, producer Erwin Winkler confirmed that a fourth film was in active development, with Jordan returning as director. Jordan has also expressed interest in Stallone returning for a fourth film, believing there was always space for Rocky to return. And in March 2025, he told Hollywood Reporter, I would like to work with Jonathan Majors again. I would love to see Creed 4 together, among other projects. Guys, do we see Dame come back as a friend, as the other two guys have been? Is that going to happen?
I think that that's the logical conclusion here.
I just don't want to be like Rocky 3, where, Adonis loses and Dame has to come and say, hey, you lost your edge. Let me help you get it back. Because then it becomes a Rocky movie again. If they change the plot and change the story, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm a big Rocky. I love the Rocky stuff, but like I'm kind of at this point, this really became Donnie's movie here, and like I'm with you, Ray. The idea of it becoming not Donnie's movie anymore, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'm here for that, man.
Yeah, if you go in that direction, you might as well, like I said, it becomes a Rocky movie again.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be something dramatic where, Dame comes in and does something, but it can't be him losing the title and him seeing him in the gym and be like, no, Adonis, you got to get your edge back. Like, that would just like tarnish the whole thing.
Yeah, I think it's more like maybe he has a job at Delphi and he's helping train and he's helping spar with the other fighters.
I like that. I like that a lot. But dude, I'm a sucker for happy endings. So I again, as we said earlier, I don't think the character did enough bad stuff to not have a comeback and to not be around. And plus, I'm a sucker for happy endings. So I kind of really want to see him, still around for part 4. And plus, we don't have to get back into it again, but he's such a great actor and did such a phenomenal job here. It'd be a shame to just let that character kind of go away forever.
Yeah. I think we will see him again if we get another Creed movie. And I would like to see him again because he's such a great character. I was glad that we did see Drago again. I was glad that we did continue to like build upon this supporting cast for Creed, and it wasn't so beholden to, all right, here's Rocky and here's Rocky's supporting cast. He actually has his own supporting cast now.
Yeah, yeah. So if we see Rocky again, if you had your way, Ray, well, if you had your way, how do we see Rocky again? If what Michael said is true and there's room for Rocky back in this universe, then how do we see him again?
He's got to be like the guy that he reaches out to when he's like lost it all and it's like, I really need to find my way. And Rocky's always been like that father figure to him. Even though Apollo is obviously his father and, he's so much like him, Rocky's basically his father. He idolizes Rocky. And it's got to be a situation like that where that would make sense. I'm all for Rocky coming back, but it's got to be an Adonis Creed, Creed movie.
Yeah. What do you think, Phil? How do you bring Rocky back for this?
I think Rocky is always going to fit in a family spot. And I think that's why the only part here where I thought it didn't make sense was why wasn't he at the funeral? That was the only scene where I was like, where's Rocky?
Yeah.
And so I think if we see Rocky again, I don't think it's going to be in a he needs to train him anymore because he's trained him. We've gotten to that point. We got such a good send off between him as a mentor and as a student at the end of the second Creed that we don't need to go back to him training with Rocky again. I think if we see any more training with Rocky, it's going to be with his daughter.
That would make a lot of sense. I mean, guys, if they want to get to that anytime soon, again, they're going to have to, as we record this, there's 2 years on this movie. So that makes the kid 8 years old. So can you guys envision them time jumping 10 years just to get to the daughter at age 18, getting in the ring? Do you think they do something that extreme?
Yeah, I can see them doing a time jump for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, I could see it. It's a natural progression.
You're not wrong. I agree with you totally. But I don't want to be done with Adonis in the ring. Like, I kind of feel like there's more to be done there. Do you guys think they've wrapped that up well enough? Or do you think there's more there because I mean, are we going to see Creed movies where Creed's not in the ring,
I don't know. There's something to just that visual of him standing in the middle of the ring with his family and he's the last one to get out and he's looking around. it kind of feels like they're wrapping up him as a boxer.
I had that feeling as well. I don't like it, but but I had it as well.
I can't imagine him fighting again because what would be his purpose? Like every movie, he's had some validity to it. Whether you agree with it or not, he had his own, reasons. For him to fight again, I don't know. I don't know what would be the rationale behind it.
That's a great pull. Ray, is that there's always been like, what would be the reason? It's kind of like, I mean, we're pro wrestling guys. What's the reason for this match? Well, just because. Well, that kind of sucks. Like, what's the, look, give me something. Give me something to hang my hat on. Like, don't just do something for the sake of doing it. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
In terms of spinoffs, because I mean, Jordan said it himself. We're not just talking about his kid at that point. We're talking about the other guys in the movie. I mean, what do we think about that? How do you spin this off apart from Creed? Who do you pick? What do you do? I mean, it's wide open, but what would be enough to get people to the theater to actually see it if it's not Stallone and it's not Adonis Creed?
I think Drago makes the most sense.
Mm.
If you're not going to go with a Creed character, if you're going to give Drago his own movie, Drago's son, I think that makes the most sense.
Mm. Right? You agree with that? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Drago's got to be the next guy.
Yeah.
Because he's still very young.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I love the idea of keeping it together. I love the idea of a universe of shared characters. I'm a sucker for that. So I'm here for it. It's just going to be interesting to see how it plays out for sure. We've talked quite a bit about this here today, and I mean that's we could go on and on about the nuance of this movie, but I will say before we wrap it up that I do like the fact that they progressed this. That by the time we're seeing his daughter, they didn't suddenly discover some magical operation to fix her hearing. They didn't take the easy way out. He's learned sign language, and they're
Mhm.
right. I like that. I like that there was no magical fix, and they could have. They could have said, "Well, we blah blah blah," but I kind of like that. I kind of like that it's imperfect characters in an imperfect situation, but they're making the best of it. And in as much as a movie can be real, how much can it be real? But at least it has those vibes to it. So I really enjoyed that actually.
Yeah, I agree. They didn't magically fix your hearing.
Right.
All of a sudden, there's this new innovative surgery that cures infant deafness. Like, come on. So at least, yeah, it humbleized him and made him more human, dealing with that issue. The daughter, she was excellent in that movie, too.
I thought she was great.
Yeah, I really liked her a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I thought she was fantastic. But yeah, that we'll see what happens next, kids. I think as we said earlier, it's wide open. Adonis Creed is a draw all by himself. Then when you start talking about a shared universe of characters, you talk about his daughter growing up. I think there's a lot here that we could potentially go forward with, and obviously the guys behind the scenes are looking forward to it as well and working on it as we speak, which is always good. Phil, do you think Coogler will get back involved in this to some degree moving forward, or do you think he's handed everything off to Jordan now? I mean, he was attached to this. He just wasn't the director.
It seems like this is kind of his thing to do. He'll come in and he'll direct a movie, and then he'll give some creative notes and be a producer. But then he'll step away because he's kind of done that with the Black Panther franchise. Like even the way that he had like a producer credit on Ironheart, but he didn't direct it. This guy, I think he's done. I don't think he's going to direct another one.
And I don't know that they would need him at this point. I mean, honestly, if he's attached to some degree on creative or something, I think that would make a lot of sense. But I don't know if they necessarily need him as director now. Well, kids, there you have it. There is Creed 3. And as we said at the beginning of this here little podcast, we have completed this trilogy. We are going to tackle Rocky. It's going to happen. Everybody just be patient. We got lots of time and
I'm
loads
waiting.
of stuff we've never, right?
I'm waiting.
And we've got loads of stuff that we've never covered here on the show, and the Rocky franchise is one of them. So now that we do it, we'll be kind of backtracking, but it's all good. But hopefully you guys will be here for that. Before we get out of here, Ray, let's get your last word on Creed 3.
Creed 3, excellent plot. Very, very different than any quote-unquote Rocky movie. Had its own identity. It had its own plot twists. and it just made, in my opinion, the best out of the three. And the soundtrack, in my opinion, was better. Some great tunes on that soundtrack. And shout out to Coogler, shout out to Michael B. Jordan, and it was like the cherry on top of a perfect Sunday.
Yeah, the soundtrack, we didn't even talk about that. There's some great stuff here, man, for sure. Music's on point. Phil, what do you think?
Great trilogy. Great to see Michael Jordan's growth as an actor, as a director, as a multi-talented creator. I think it's funny enough. I think it's a blessing to be talking about this guy's growth and seeing like his path at this point. With the terrible news that we got yesterday about Malcolm Jamal Warner, rest in
Yeah.
peace to him. Gone way too soon.
Mhm.
But I mean, when you see somebody like Michael B. Jordan and like the Cooglers of the world, and you see so many great like black actors and black men in Hollywood that are getting a chance to do so many great things and getting opportunities that weren't afforded before, it's just it's so refreshing. And I think that Michael has done such a great job with this franchise of proving himself.
Yeah, really has. Well said. Yeah, Michael B. Jordan's a real deal, kids. In case we hadn't put that over enough to you as it is, he's a real deal. And if you've not followed his work, shame on you. You're doing life wrong. Because again, he's 38. In Hollywood years, that's nothing these days. I mean, he's got a whole career in front of him. He's got a great stuff behind him. He's got a whole career in front of him. So you can rest assured that the more stuff he does, the more of his stuff we'll cover here, because I think he's one of the best actors of our time. And I think in the end, that's what'll be said about this guy. And I think he would have earned every minute of it and every accolade he gets because of it. And as we said, we'll be there to cover the stuff as it happens. And we hope that you tag along for the ride and you enjoy that stuff as well. More to come. Stay tuned. But in the meantime, that is Creed 3. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.